thank you for joining. We're going to be starting this off in a bit, and just for you to know, we're going to have a good show. I hope Mike doesn't get hit by lightning. Andy, as always, first in the chat, good to see you. The other Frank, howdy, nice to see you. And oh, Dixie DX, haven't seen you in a while, good to see you around. We're going to kick this off in about another couple of seconds here. We're just letting all the YouTube algorithm stuff pop and the announcements go out so everyone has a chance to join on time. Yeah. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I forgot to drop the mic. I'm sorry. I'm Frank KG5AHJ. We're going to have a great show for y'all today. We got Mike in the background. We're going to be talking about battery boxes. And as always, you know what's going on. It's time to play that awesome intro video. Quick shout out to all my Patreons who makes the show possible. You can support me by joining Patreon in the link below. And on to Tank Radio. Before we get started on the up-and-coming video, I just wanted to take a second out to point out my new tank pad. These tank pads are being sold over at Quirky QRP, and it has my logo too, along with all the HF bands that you commonly use when you're out doing a POTA. So this thing is awesome when you're out in a POTA. It's the perfect size for a mouse pad, perfectly fits inside your backpacks, and I love it, I love it, I love it. I can't recommend this enough. And to get yours today, head over to Quirky QRP's Etsy shop and order now. Links in the description below, and it might be popping up right here. Who knows? Now on to Tank Radio. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you all for joining. We're going to have a great show. We're going to be talking about battery boxes, and Mike's going to come on and help us break down some of the designs and things to look at while we're trying to put all this together, and it's going to be fun. Before we get started, though, we are going to thank you, the Patreons who support this channel. I thank you very much. If you want to support me, I got links in my description below, and go ahead and join Patreon or YouTube memberships. Also, buy me a beer and super chats are active, and I have sticker packs. The sticker packs are for 5 stickers, 3 different designs. They are awesome, and go ahead and get those over at Grapevine Radio. And my tank mouse pads on sale over at Etsy at Quirky QRP and Gigaparts. Gigaparts has an awesome 5% off for y'all, the tankers, and you use tank at checkout and you get 5% off on select items. And finally, my audio podcasts. My audio podcasts are released every week, and there's 2 episodes a month that are not on YouTube. It is Texas Hams, where we talk about what's going on our Texas channel with all the Texas creators. And also, I have my Patreon Tank Commanders meeting that I messed up today. I'm sorry. We'll probably talk about that in a little bit. That's just all my Tank Commander levels. We talk about it, and those are released a month behind the actual meeting. But those are great. Head over to any podcaster app you have, enter Tank Radio, and you'll find me. Man. That all being said, man, I had a heck of a month. Last couple of weeks, we went over to More Expo, and I'm still releasing all the vendor videos. Thank you, Don, for posting that link there. I'm going to go ahead and pin it. I'm going to try to pin it. I don't know. I probably need to reinstall Chrome. I still can't pin it. But Don dropped the link to the stickers. Thank you, Don. More Expo. More Expo was amazing. We hung out with like 8 different YouTubers, and we had a blast down there at More, and we really showed them about amateur radio. Um, and I've still got that stuff coming on. Ooh, Monday's interview is amazing. This guy is doing, or he's going camping in a old Model T, and he's using period Pacific equipment for around that era. It is so cool. Please tune in Monday and head over to his channel. I think it's Model T Adventures and Camping, or Model T Camping and Adventures. It's amazing. That's video is going to be coming up Monday. All right, I think I have everything. I am going to go ahead and bring Mike on after I unmute him. Hey man, how's it going? How are you?
What's going on?
Dude,
I am lovely.
Man, so you still have power right now?
Yes. We'll see how long it lasts. Hopefully, I looked at the weather. It looked like the storm might not hit me as bad, but
yeah,
who knows?
Man, I wanted to go out and play POTA yesterday, and it was just so bad and raining. But they kept pushing it off, so it was supposed to be raining all day Saturday, and that day came, and I was like, oh, I got to do this, and it's just they kept pushing off the forecast, but it was always like, it's gonna be right there, and I just don't want to be in the park and have that all happen. Plus, it was raining, like all day, a couple of days last week, and I knew it's just gonna be so muddy, man. And
yeah, it's not bad here. It was good yesterday. I had a little outing at Bastrop State Park yesterday. Only a few people showed up. I was disappointed in my ham radio community, but we had like the best 3 people that showed up, so that's what matters. And then me and Mike K8MRD from Ham Solo's YouTube channel we did Huntsville State Park and Sam Houston National Forest, and I just got home about a half hour ago. So.
Wow.
Been poding all weekend, and now but yeah, the weather's calling for like tornado and hails and stuff here, so we'll see. Cross your fingers.
Cross our fingers. There we go. We got a pin up. We're gonna do our best here. Before we get started, Matthew with the $5 super chat. Take radio. I love it. Thank you so much, sir.
Aren't you supposed to drink some pickle whiskey or something for that?
I usually say in the beginning, but I have my stepdad's coming on to Jason's stream after this, and he's talking about new updates to the Morse Monkey, and I don't really feel like getting sloshed with my mom in the background watching. Hi, Mom! I love you!
I doubt your mom's watching.
Oh, she watches. She does.
Does she?
Yes.
Nice.
So, Mike, I asked you to come on the stream today to talk about battery boxes. I think you are the battery box king. You make those awesome Big Geeks and Uber Geeks and Megatron Geek. And if you haven't made a Megatron battery box, you need to make one now.
I have not. I like that. I like that name, though.
Yes, right, trademarked. Too late. Sorry. Use it.
I think Hasbro might have something to say about that.
Yeah. And you just gave me an amazing battery, and I don't have the picture up. It is I have the screen ready. This one. Nope. Yep. Boink. This one here. This is the Redu. Redu?
Oh, yeah.
How you say that name?
Well, so I pronounce it Redodo.
Redodo.
Smokin' Ape pronounces it Redodio. Now you pronounced it Redu.
Redu.
Or however the hell you just said it.
This is the
who knows?
Redu 12 volts, 100 amp hour, and this is a low temperature battery, so it has a built-in heater, and this is an awesome battery that you already reviewed, right?
Yes.
If I was a better YouTuber, I will already have that in the description, but y'all can find it. And
I forgot I gave that to
you. You gave away so many batteries, man.
Yeah.
And I want to design a battery box around this, so I'm not going to do a full review. Mike's review probably has 100 times better than anything I can do for this battery, but I want to build a battery box around it, and I don't know where to start. Legitimately, I have no idea where to start. Well,
so the first place to start is obviously the battery. And and the size and capacity and all that. And so you have capacity to think about, but you also have the physical size battery
Mm-hmm.
to really think about. So once you know those two things, the next step is to find the actual box that you're going to put into it, or
Mm-hmm.
put it into rather. So, and when I was building Jason's box, he and I were looking for several months to try and find. He had a 50 amp hour, I think it was the Gigaparts 50 amp hour battery,
Mm-hmm.
and fitting something like that into, um, just a regular ammo can type battery box isn't going to happen because
Yep.
it's just physically too big. So we finally, where's the screen here? So he and I went to, we found this at Home Depot. This is one of the Milwaukee pack out boxes,
Mm-hmm.
and the battery fit perfect in here. Another thing to consider is all of the other things that you want to put into it, and how do you want it to look. So I personally prefer, we decided on this box in particular because it had this. Can I embiggen that?
Yeah.
Not really.
The
It
tray
had
on top.
this little drop-in tray. And I like those drop-in trays because I can put the charge controller in that. Like I don't want to mount the charge controller like on the outside of the box and drill holes and screw it in there. It just, then you got wires sticking out and it just looks ugly. It can bump into things. So in that little drop-in tray, I took my Dremel and I cut out the center of that
Mm-hmm.
so I could perfectly fit. I think I put a Bioenno, the 20 amp or the 25 amp, whatever it is, charge controller in there, and I was able to mount it there. And I also put, I think I put the fuse box. I might have put it on the bottom side of that, so everything's kind of out of the way, and then the battery was in the bottom of the box, so everything fit perfectly. And then on the front of it, you've got just your watt meter, your switches, your power pole outlets, your USB, just all the functional things. So it looks good, So for your battery, this might work.
Since you got the screen, I was thinking the Milwaukee roller one that has the rollers on the bottom,
That could
like we
work.
saw at the Go Kit Challenge. And
Yeah.
while you do that, I'm just gonna put myself beside you. I think I just saw it scroll. Yes,
This one
that one
here.
right there. And I was thinking that one because it had the rollers. Because this battery is heavy, and I can make this a stack system. And I am gesturing like you can see me. I'm going to make this a stackable system if I wanted to. I could put other boxes on top like he had at the Go Get Challenge. And however, like you were saying, I think this one does have slips on the top that you can put on top. If you click on the 12 picture, because it has 12 different pictures there, Mike.
Oh, look at that 3D there.
Yeah. Two to your right.
Okay. Yeah, so this does have a drop in there. Okay, here we are.
Like it's a
Yeah, so
half.
that could work. Now, so there's also something to consider though. This box is huge.
It is kind of big, and that's the drawback. I'm like, ugh.
So for a 100 amp hour battery, yeah, this will absolutely fit. Hell, you could fit an inverter in this thing. But you need to think also the physical size of this box, and is it going to fit in your tiny little puny non-American car that you drive named Sapphire?
Sapphire. It will fit in Sapphire. Yes, it will.
So, are you gonna want to lug this around every time you go out? Which I guess being on wheels would be a good compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, so you have something bigger with wheels versus something smaller without wheels. So you wouldn't have to carry it. You could just wheel it around.
Well, this will be for like the big field day events, when we
Sure.
go out and go and operate over the weekend, and like you bring your big battery boxes. Here's Frank's power for the entire weekend and throw a solar cell out there and not even worry about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and like Don said, you might could fit 200 amp hour batteries in there. That might be a stretch, but maybe. I don't know. I don't have this box, so I don't know.
Hmm.
But maybe. But yeah, I mean, with this, you've got the little drop-in tray there, so you could modify that for charge controller. I mean, you could basically do the exact same thing I did with Jason's box with this, and then you just need to think of, what accessories do you want.
Hmm. Hmm.
So let me get out of this screen here.
Like you
Um,
you were saying also for the size, yes, I'm going to put an inverter in it, and that was something we were going to look probably eventually down the road if we get there. But yeah, I would like to do an inverter and have like all the different arrays of power plugs and USB ports and make this thing really really useful.
yeah. Another thing, as far as plugs, outlets, sockets, that kind of thing, try and find everything you can that's round. So,
Mm-hmm.
case in point, let me go to this camera here. These were the first power pole outlets that I used, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
notice they're square. And I still have these in my whoops, in my Big Geek,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which is ever evolving. I'm always doing stuff to this. But cutting square holes sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks a lot. So I went on Thingiverse and I found these, and
Mm-hmm.
you can 3D print these, and I've got a whole crap ton of these that I printed. So if you need some, just let me know. Um, and these just unscrew here. Oh, now the storm's starting to come. So you've got your little back plate, and you get a, just a. I use a step, one of those step drill bits,
Mm-hmm.
or you could just get a drill bit that's this size, but I already had step drill bits, so that's what I use. And there's a little hole in there where I just take a little piece of wire, because power poles have a hole in them. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't put something through here, the power poles are they're just gonna come out. So you just put a little bit of wire or something in that hole, and then when you put the this little backing thing on, it covers that hole. So now your power poles aren't gonna
Ooh,
uh,
I love that.
they're gonna stay in place when you plug and unplug things.
Can
So
you also put a O-ring in there too that makes it a little bit more water resistant?
I mean, you could, but I don't think that would serve any purpose, because the power poles aren't water resistant. You can still get water in there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, none of my battery boxes are waterproof. So that's another thing to consider. Um, you know, just having something to protect it, like a tarp or a garbage bag or something, because you're drilling holes and stuff, and you have electronics.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you build the box with everything inside and no holes in it, you still have plugs and outlets and sockets, whatever you put into it. So I'm not saying there isn't a way to make one waterproof, but I haven't found a way yet. And I've never tried to make them waterproof. I don't operate in the rain. Um, I understand that I'm drilling holes in things, and I mean you can pretty much look through a power pole. They're not waterproof. So
Mm-hmm.
unless you use specific waterproof connectors, which are not power poles, um, you'd need to you'd need to figure
That's a
that out
good
for yourself.
point. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because I was trying to keep it water resistant the best I can, but you are 100% correct. I didn't think about the power pole connector itself not
Yeah.
being waterproof. Yeah.
And if it gets a little bit of rain on it, it starts raining, and you
Mm-hmm.
grab it and run it inside, no harm, no foul. It'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But this you're not going to want to just leave it outside in a torrential downpour.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you wouldn't want to do that with your ham radio either.
James
So
says just dip the whole thing in rubber or rhinoline it. So
always people got to be a smart aleck.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we
So.
have that Milwaukee box kind of identified that I want to use right now.
Hmm.
So I'm just gonna put that Milwaukee box, however you spell that. Um,
And
Then
I'll give a shameless plug here.
mhm,
This is my Amazon store, and you can go to my Amazon store, and I don't have everything in here, but I've got a lot of things specifically for Hamocan Go Box build stuff.
mhm.
So, and I have tried and used every single one of these, and they're all good. So if you want to go and pick apart, so like for example, this USB outlet right here
Mhm.
has I put this in that little ammo can speaker box that I made because I originally built it and I didn't have a voltmeter in there, and I was like, after I built it, I was like, I kind of want a voltmeter in it actually. And this has two USB C PDs and a USB 3.0
Mhm.
and a voltmeter, which is actually surprisingly accurate. And it looks like this.
Oh.
So now on a battery box, I wouldn't necessarily put this. You can though, because I like it. If you wanted the voltmeter, I don't
Mhm.
need the voltmeter, so I don't use these in my battery boxes. I use a different kind. That is which one do I use? I
That
use
one.
this one.
Mhm.
I use this one in my battery box because it's USB-C PD, and then a USB, whatever the hell the
3.
old one is. Yeah,
USB-A, but it's USB-A, USB
yeah.
3.
What I never use them. I
Yeah.
don't care. I just want the USB-C. So if
Mhm.
you wanted a voltmeter, that's fine. But as far as the actual voltmeters themselves, I use these Spartan Power ones, and these are what are inside all of my battery boxes,
And that
and they
comes
have a
with the
shunt
shunt.
there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
Yeah,
ask.
yeah. So I'll show you. Let's go back to that camera there. So that's this right here, and these are really nice. They've got an on-off button, and you can see all. You've got your voltage. If current was running here, let's throw a couple switches on. Maybe we can get some current running, so you can see the voltage. We've got the current. We're pulling 56 milliamps right now, which is 0.74 watts.
Mhm.
And then you'll see how much watts you're pulling. And then this one up here is the cumulative. So when you're running radio, so in here there's a 12 amp hour battery. So I know this will just accumulate all the power that you use. So once this gets to 12 or 11, whatever, I know it's getting pretty low because voltage with lithium iron phosphate, you can kind of gauge, but not as much as actually accounting for the current that's actually gone through it. And these meters are surprisingly accurate. They're not 100%, but they're close enough.
Mhm.
And then you've got your ohms for the external resistance and the internal resistance of the battery. And then you have here just accumulates the time that it's been on. And they're like $18 or something. They're stupid cheap. And then this is here's one of the shunts. This is a 300 amp shunt. Whoops. With the 100 amp is just one of these bars, but this is 300 amp. You can get them 100, 200, 300. I think they might even make a 500 amp one, but all your negatives connect to one side, and then you put a negative from the other side to the battery, and that's how it accumulates and knows what's going on. So you can see now we've drawn 0.1 milliamps of
Hmm.
power just with these two, like the two red LEDs
Yeah.
sitting there. And the great thing about this meter in particular, when you turn this off, it keeps the memory. Even
Oh.
if you unplug the power from this, so there's a red and a black that actually power this,
Mhm.
and then there's a blue and a yellow that connect to the shunt. So the red and the black connect to the battery, and the blue and the yellow connect to either side of the shunt. And it's just awesome. I love these. And then to like clear everything, it's all one button. Setting the voltage is kind of a pain in the ass, but you just long press this button.
Mhm.
It's kind of like the old Nokia phones where they only had the one button, and then you just press it again and you can cycle. So if I want to reset the current here, now I'm selected on the current, and I can just long press it again. Whoops. Except for when I'm trying to demonstrate it.
Of
Long
course.
press it again, and then it just went back to 0.
And do you
And
have
when
that
you Go
running
ahead.
from the battery to your distributor block for all the fuses, and then it breaks out to everything else. So you have to run the power through this. So this is right after your battery before it gets broken up to all your other power poles or whatever else it uses.
Yeah, I mean you can connect it to the battery however you want, but there's not a good way to show you here. Let's try this.
Ah,
Um,
earthquake,
yep.
tornado happened.
Sorry.
Like the camera's confused.
I know the camera wants to reverse itself,
Yeah.
and I've got all kinds of crap. It's terrible demo. Terrible demo.
Oh, we're doing it
Um,
live. Perfect for tank radio.
but you can see this red and black wire right here.
Mm-hmm.
That guy goes to the red and black on the shunt. There's just little push tabs that you slide the wire in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just crimped these wires directly in with the power poles. Okay.
Ah.
Which probably isn't a great idea in hindsight because they're not fused. But
Mm-hmm.
I also have a fuse on this as well, so I'm not too worried. And then these are the yellow and blue wires that connect. I had to splice some red wires. So these red wires here are connected to the yellow. This is the yellow, this is the blue. And that's what measures the resistance across this shunt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the meter knows. And again, all of your negatives are connected. So like all the negatives of like the switches, the power poles, everything, all your negatives go through the shunt.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other negative goes back to the negative of the battery.
Okay.
So
I'm totally not going to remember that.
if
I'm going to
that
have to
makes
rewatch
sense.
this later.
Well,
But
you have
you
my
did
phone number.
you did answer the question. The next major component we need to talk about, what do you look for in a solar charge controller?
Uh, RFI quiet
Yes,
is
of
number
course.
one.
Mm-hmm.
But also size. So, for example, in this box right now, I have. I wonder if I have. Hang on.
Mm-hmm. We're hanging on.
Because I just so happen to have an extra, but it's this little guy here.
Ooh.
Let me go to this camera. So this is a little 5 amp, and I don't recommend these.
Don't recommend these.
I don't recommend these. This is a 5 amp. You can see the little black dot there. Focus. See how it says 4S LiFePO 4? So this
Yes.
is for a 4 series lithium iron phosphate battery. And there's a little heat sink on the back. I took the heat sink off, and I put some heat shrink on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just marked somewhere on here. There's the S, and then I put a B on this one. So the solar connects into there. And this I just did because I couldn't find a solar charge controller small enough to fit in this box because it's, well, full.
Yeah.
And it's like a Chinese eBay thing. They work great, but they're noisy as hell. So I wouldn't operate my ham radio and charge with solar with this battery box, which is one of the reasons I never made Little Geek and sold them, because I can't find a charge controller that's cheap enough. So like Genasun will fit in here, but they're like $100, and then I'd have to raise the price of the. I could get them. I could get a little bit of a wholesale discount, maybe like $70. But it's still kind of expensive, so I never went down the road. But Genasun makes a 10 amp charge controller that's quiet that would fit in here. I like the Bioenno charge controllers.
I think
Who
that
else have I used?
Bioleno one would be kind of what I'm leaning toward. It's a little bit more heavy duty, but since 100 amp hour, we're probably going to want to run a lot of power through it for solar if I can get up to there.
Well, so the 100 amp or the Bioenno charge controller. Let's go back to. We'll go back to the earthquake cam. Well, you can see it here. But what the hell? I have this. So that's the camera wants to flip when I move it too much. So this is it's either 20 or 25 amps. I can't remember. I think it's 20.
Mm-hmm.
20 amp charge controller, and it's just in this little ammo can.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ! And it's I mean it's not that big. It's probably the size of like 2 Bowfangs.
Yeah.
But you can put you can hook like 400 watts of solar panels up to this.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually I get about 5 or so amps on a perfect sunny day of current with a 100-watt panel. So yeah, for 100-watt, this would be fine. But you could go bigger depending on how many panels you have. You can certainly go bigger. Batteria sent me a big 40 amp charge controller that works great. It's got an app we used it at the
Yes.
at the Eclipse there.
Yep.
So you saw that. It's actually here. I can grab it.
So the one I kind of seeing right now while you're getting up is this is a 20 amp. I'm probably going to go a little bit larger for the 30 amp one, but it's going to be the same size, same design. And it can handle up to 30 amps. So that's going to cover most of everything I'm thinking about using for this box. I don't think I'm going to need more than that. Go ahead,
No.
man.
I've never really needed anything more than that 20 amp Bioenno,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the Batteria one that they sent me. I need to review this because I actually really like this. But
It's
I mean, this
huge.
is actually made for like RVs. It's got like a port for some switch, but it's hefty. But it's RF quiet, 40 amps. There's an app that connects to it that you don't need to sign into, so you don't have China tracking you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the cost of this, but it's pretty solid. I like it a lot. So, but like be wary of like any of the charge controllers that you just find on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably going to be pretty. They'll probably work, but they're going to be very noisy in terms of RF.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we know
when you're playing
Bioenno
radio, you
is
get a lot of hash.
a better charge controller than the rest of them. So that's why I was
I've never had a problem
Bioenno.
in. I think I've sold 20 or 25 of the Big Geek battery boxes. I obviously have my own. Never, ever, ever have I had any RFI from the charge controller in there. So, yeah, and they're what was it, $65 for that charge controller?
$65. This is the 20 amp hour. I was hoping to find the 30 amp hour.
I don't think they have a 30. I think they have a 40.
Well, we can look at their website.
Yeah, that's the 40 right there, I think.
30 amp.
Oh, 30 amp. Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah,
but
with the silver stuff.
Yeah, I was trying to, of course, do the affiliate link also, but I couldn't pull it up. So this is the 20 amp hour one. Of course, I also still buy everything from Amazon through my affiliates. Get a little back. Glenn, thank you for the super chat, man. I really do appreciate $10. It's going towards the box build I'm going to be doing here next month. It's too crazy the rest of this month. I'm already messing stuff up. We'll hit on it later. So dude, I messed stuff up. I'm sorry to everybody.
It's okay.
What's the question here by Matt? What's the inline power meter thing that I've seen used? I think we talked about that earlier. The inline power meter.
Inline power meter is something different. That's
barefoot. I love it.
Yeah, that's more like one of these things where you would just plug your battery into the source and then your load into the load. That's an inline watt meter, and these are pretty cheap. These are under $20.
That's the cheap. Hold on. That's the cheap one that you can get on Amazon, left to right, all day.
In my experience, these all suck equally as much. Whether it says PowerWorks on the top, and I'm specifically mentioning PowerWorks because I've bought several of them, and every single one of them has shown different voltages.
Ha!
So these are These are not.
PowerWorks is supposed to be the good one.
So right. So here's the deal, and this is kind of my thing. Anytime, I don't know if you can see it, but it says high precision watt meter on there.
Uh-huh.
Anytime, and I see this a lot in the music industry with music gear, like in particular, like wireless guitar systems. I was just having this conversation the other day. My wireless guitar system is a Shure QLXD, costs about $1,000,
Mm-hmm,
and it came in a brown box. Lesser entry model wireless systems that are $100, $200, $300 come in really shiny boxes. They all say professional, and they're garbage. So use these. These are not high precision watt meters. They're, they will accumulate the current, but when you unplug them, everything's lost. They only accumulate current up to, I think, 60 amp hours, maybe 65 amp hours, and then it rolls around again. Which is dumb. I was testing a 100 amp hour battery with one of these, and I came back the next day and it was like 30 amp hours or whatever it was. I can't remember. I'm like, what the hell? And then I later found out that these only go up to 65 hours. But I mean, you can run current through it. This is for 150 amps. I wouldn't run 150 amps through this because it's got Chinese garbage wire on there.
James is, what do you mean PowerWorks? I thought that was supposed to be the good brand.
No, I'm not a fan of PowerWorks personally.
Oh,
at all. When you can, so you're going to spend like $50 on one of these if it says PowerWorks, and you're going to spend about $15 to $20 on one of these on Amazon if it doesn't say PowerWorks. Doesn't? I just hit puberty. And they're all exactly the same thing.
So we're going to have to talk about the birds and the bees here in a second. To answer Don's question here, the Buddy Power Mini is a way to go for charge controls, and I'm going to agree with you wholeheartedly, but that's not going to be incorporated in the box. What that is in my backpack for, I am going mobile with the bag, and I love it hands down. I got the Power 2 that has the USB in it. Ooh, I love it. If you can find it, get it.
Yeah, the Power Mini is great. The Power Mini 2 I have in another battery box. It's the one on the bottom over there. But it isn't really designed, in my opinion, for being incorporated in battery boxes.
No.
It's not mountable. It's got, it's more made to be, you plug your solar panel into it, you plug your battery into it, and then you run a couple loads off of it and you're done. That's it.
I completely agree. It is the mobile charge controller you put in your bag and for your slim bag builds. Ken, it's not the birds and the bees. It's the PL259s and the SO238s.
I literally just had that conversation yesterday too, because one's a plug. It's got the PL259 is the plug. It's got the little penis on it, and the SO239's got the little vahoo.
There goes the monetization. It's gone.
Yep. Now you can say penis.
Oh, cool. So you had wires up in there. So the next, like the other major component, you're wiring this all up in the box. What type of gauge wires are you grabbing? Are you using large gauge wires going to the battery, to the charge controller, and then kind of doing a smaller gauge to each subcomponent? What is your methodology thinking?
So you want to use as big a gauge as you can, and ideally a good quality wire. Typically I used the the hell is it? The BN Tech Go. They say it's tinned copper wire. I kind of don't believe that anymore. But it's very flexible. So Sideboom and I were talking a few weeks ago about rewiring my battery box with pure oxygen-free copper, or whatever the hell it is. So I went to was it AutoZone? They sell it. So I bought like 10 feet of each of this pure copper wire, and that's what's inside of Big Geek now. Let's see if I can I just put everything in here. But it's like really here, let's go.
Here we go. Tornado cam.
It's really stiff. So it's this wire here. Basically every bit of I think I use 10 gauge now. All of this, all the blacks, anything that I'm running current off of. So like all the power poles are running off of this 10 gauge. Here's the direct connect to the battery, this power pole. So 10 gauge to that, and then into the fuse box. So
Mm-hmm.
here's the main thing coming from
Main
the
power.
battery.
Mm-hmm.
And then these are all, God damn it. These are all going to the power poles. Now for the smaller things, I'm just using, so like for my USB, I'm just using like, I think 18 gauge wire or something, because I'm not really pulling a lot of current out of that. And I need to rewire the charge controller because I think I have 18 gauge wire on here as well. But, you know, for the lights that are on here, I've got just small wire because they don't draw any current at all. But it depends on what you're gonna do. But you know, 12 gauge for 12 gauge for ham radio should be fine. I mean, that's what all the ham radios come with, like your FTDX10, the wire that it came with, the plug-in is 12 gauge. So you should be okay with that. But then you need to think of fuses and how you're going to fuse it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back here. Here's a fuse block. In my battery box, I don't have a nice fuse box, but in the ones I sold, I had something like this that has a cover on it. And let's click on here. It has little LED lights. So if a fuse blows, you know which fuse it is. You don't have to remember which
Ooh, I
circuit
like
is
that.
which. So, and this is just a positive one. You don't connect the negative to this. You
I
connect
was
the
going to bring
negative
that
right to
up
the battery.
in a second.
So
Yeah.
there's different fuse blocks out there if you want to connect the negative and the positive to it. There are ones that are like that. I opted for this because I have the shunt and everything just runs through that anyway. You don't really need to fuse the negative. So that's what I use, and they're pretty cheap, you know, $13 there. So yeah, let's see what else. Here's another. I think this Batteria Power charge controller I reviewed. That's RF quiet. I believe this Bouge RV one is also RF quiet. Don't
Mm-hmm.
quote me on that. I'm pretty sure I did a review on this. Maybe I didn't. Chuck sent me this one, or sent me a link to this one, KK6USY, because I was looking for a smaller charge controller to put in Little Geek. But like this is a 10 amp, this is a 10 amp.
Mm-hmm.
I would still do the Bioenos though. But then you need to also think about crimpers and
Crimpers.
wire strippers. So this Irwin wire stripper is the
Yep.
wire stripper that I use. I love it. Where is it? This Klein Tools.
Why are there so
For
many different
clamping,
types of crimpers out there? It's
because there's different type of connectors. So like this is going to connect, like see the little
mm-hmm.
O-ring connector there. So you're going to use something like this to crimp those, which you will use. There's a lot of stuff you need. Switches. These are the switches that I use. These are 20 amp switches. It's hard to find, and I haven't yet, a 12 volt switch rated higher than 20 amps that is also not a ginormous switch that's going to stick out of the box and be like the switches that I put in Jason's box. I think those are 25 or 30 amp switches, but they stick out like a sore thumb. These are very flush, and they're 20 amps, and I've never really, I mean, 20 amps for ham radio is pretty much all you need. Even though the radios might, you know, in the instructions it might say, oh, it pulls 30 amps or something. Now the FTDX10, that thing pulls like 2 amps just on receive.
Yes.
I don't know what its current consumption is. So like if you set it to 100 watts and key down on CW, I don't know what the current rate would that be. But the 7300 doesn't pull more than 20 amps, nor does the 891. You know, the 2 HF radios that I have that I use. Wago connectors.
Those are pretty cool.
These are things that, so when you're connecting the switches to the power poles, I use these to splice the wires. I don't like just those twist on nut things. I really like the Wago connectors. They're easy to take in and out. Some good Hakko cutters. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff.
So,
these are ferrule crimpers.
So let's kind of focus on the crimpers because that's a good point here. So I am going to be needing to crimp on ring rings onto the battery and a couple of the other
Hmm.
components, and also kind of the automotive type style plug onto like the fuse box you were showing us. There's I think a metal part that you just slide onto. What type of connector or crimper I can get to pretty much cover all of those, or each one is its
Say
own
that
crimp.
again.
So the ring style, and also what
Yeah.
those the blue type tabs you have right
Yeah.
there.
So like the ring crimper, and these are called quick connectors,
Mm-hmm.
quick disconnect terminals. These will use the same crimp,
Mm-hmm.
the same crimping tool, like that.
Okay.
When you start to get into when they're not insulated,
Mm-hmm.
technically you should use a different crimper. Um, that's kind of I don't really have a good example, but it's kind of like what's on this. These little see the little
Yeah.
pointy things sticking out of there. Those are made for non-insulated
Mm-hmm.
connectors, where that little pointy thing will jab into the back of the connector and really crimp it well. But these kind of suck to actually crimp
Yeah, those
things.
it looks like to be
They're not as good
secondary.
as
Yeah.
yeah. They're just I mean this is kind of a multi tool, but as a wire stripper, this is fantastic. I
Mm-hmm.
love this. I love this wire stripper. Um, so you definitely want to have the right tools for the job, and none of these things in and of themselves are expensive. Here's a power pole crimper for $28,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
$30 for the quick connect crimper. Um, this is a flag style connector crimper that I bought, which the flag style connectors, these are like 90-degree connectors
Ooh.
that need a special kind of crimper. You can't use the other kinds.
Uh-huh.
So I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ratcheting crimpers hanging on my workbench right now
Wow.
because you just and a lot of these you can interchange the dies,
Ooh.
but so like here's the power pole crimper.
Yeah.
So just the actual part that does the crimping, a lot of those, not all, but a lot of them, you can interchange with another crimper. So you could just buy the dies if they fit your crimper and change them out. But I do so much frickin' crimping. I started off with just a power pole crimper,
Yeah.
and then I got a coax crimper, just the dies. And I got sick of changing out between the power pole die and the coax die, and then the different size coax dies. So I ended up just buying a crimper dedicated for power poles, a crimper dedicated for coax, a crimper dedicated for quick connects. Because I do so much of it, it makes it worthwhile for me to have them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a time saver. So that's just I mean it's just but I've been doing this, I've been making stuff for years. So it makes sense for me to I can justify that cost.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you gave me a lot to think about. I probably will go spend the money on the crimper that I'm able to switch out the heads in, because I'm not going to be doing this full time, making these a lot, so I could probably do that. I don't mind buying a nice thing and have multiple uses, but I guess you are right. I need to start getting crimpers and
tools in general.
tools in
Can
general.
never have too many.
uh
And then you can get a Harbor Freight workbench
huh.
with all kinds of crap on it.
Well, that stuff
Here,
is
let's
coming
go
down the pipe already, sir.
there. There's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. See all those crimpers up there?
Yes.
I'm not kidding. I got all kinds of crap. And then I've got a whole toolbox of stuff and a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of crap underneath
Look
it
at all those
and
stickers.
boxes full of all of those boxes are just electronic
Uh-huh.
stuff,
And
and then a geochrome, and yeah, bioenno. So
Tower of Biolenos.
yeah, everybody needs a tower of bioenno. So
Mm-hmm. That's
that's that.
awesome.
So, but it's really like every time I make a box, I will start with the battery,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll say, okay, what purpose do I want this for? So again, for example, here is that right there next to my Crocs.
Mm-hmm.
That's 100 amp hour battery in there,
Jeez.
but it's one of the mini lithium iron phosphate. So it actually fits in that case. Yours won't fit in that case.
No.
But again, same ugh, same meter. I put the USB flap sideways. So there's the USB that I use. I don't need the voltage on there because I have a meter here. That's on a switch. This one I kind of just threw together because I just had all the bits and bobs. And then these two power poles are on this switch. This bottom power pole is on that switch, and then the solar I don't have on a switch because the charge controller that's in there doesn't have any parasitic draw. And then that's the inside.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I've got this little. This is actually the charge controller I use when I'm doing ham radio with this. I'll just plug it. I'll plug it into just one of the red power poles and plug the panel into that, and just not use this yellow one. But and you can see that little
that bad crappy
yellow
one.
yeah, that's Kapton tape that I put around that cheap 5-amp charge controller just because I had it. I didn't even know I had this one until after I built this box, and then I was looking through all my parts and stuff. But yeah, it's all just thrown together, and got a USB cable in here, and that's it. So
that's pretty much where I kind of want to get kind of towards. The box I want is something I could take out when I'm on for a long weekend, and I don't have to worry about any type of power. I'm just going to plug it in. I can run the battery. I can run the radio off of it. Eventually, when I'm getting a 12-volt fridge, I'm going to run that off of it, and then I'm going to throw a ray of solar out there, and then I could keep the thing charged. And if I wanted to run a long wire to my tent and run the CPAP machine, because it's all the same.
Now, when you start to get to inverters, so I just reviewed one on the channel that was like $50 from Amazon. It's RF quiet. Well, we used it when we were camping. That was just a little 300-watt inverter, and I think that's perfect for kind of anything that we're going to do camping. Like literally that cooler that Vern let you borrow, because we didn't have the 12-volt plug. We only had the 120-volt plug. So we had to use the inverter to go from 12 volts to 120 volts back down to 12 volts. Which is stupid, but
hey, we didn't have the right cord. And
But if you're going to start getting into a lot of current with a battery system like that 3,000 watt inverter that I have, I bought some 1/aught gauge pure copper wire welding cable. It was like $90 for 10 feet of red and black wire. But that's the kind of wire you need when you're going to pull those amps. I'm pulling 250 amps out of that thing, or I can. Like if the power in the house goes out, I can run my microwave off of the batteries with that. And the reason you want good wire is because with the cheaper wire, you're going to have a lot of resistance in it, and a lot you're going to have a lot of voltage drop and current loss. And the cables are going to get really hot, and your terminals on your battery are going to get really hot. And what the battery voltage is and what the inverter's voltage sees are going to be two different things, even in that short 10-foot run. So
interesting.
Which I mean, you're not going to be doing, but that's more like a house setup kind of thing, or
no. This is
the stuff hits the fan kind of
yeah.
thing. But
I would like an inverter in it. Maybe that's later, but it will be mounted inside, where I'm going to have plugs on the outside to plug in and turn on the inverter, and then it's good to go. Well, all right, man. I think that is about time here. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the screen and do your normal, where we can find more about you. We already linked to your storefront in the chat, and just whatever else you want to shout out, man.
Hi, my name is Mike. I'm a ham radio operator. I have a small YouTube channel called Ham Radio Tube. I love building things. I love working with my hands. I've been in design most of my life. It was sales, but it was still design. So I just love coming up with just solutions to make my life easier as a portable ham radio operator. That's why I started making battery boxes And I personally think wiring DC stuff is pretty easy. Connect the blacks to the blacks and the reds to the reds, and keep the fuses out until you're until you're ready to go, and keep the batteries disconnected until you're ready to go, and then put the fuses in. And if the fuses blow, then something bad happens. So, but
That's what
yeah,
they're
I've
for.
got all kinds of links on my Amazon store for a lot of the tools that I use. They're all things that I have actually used and own. I don't have as many actual like step-by-step build videos on these boxes. I've shown them in detail how I did it after the fact, but I've never really done a video building it, because every time I've designed one of these, it's literally me standing there for hours hovering over it and just kind of brainstorming to myself how I want to design it and how I want it done and how I want to wire it and what I want in it and all that stuff. And that alone takes a long time. And then to film it would like triple that time. So,
oh yeah.
I honestly have watched a lot of videos like this 100 amp hour battery box legit stole the design from another guy on YouTube. I made a couple different changes, but some guy, I think he had the Power Queen 100 amp hour battery, and I had one, and I just so happened to have this box sitting in my closet doing nothing. So I'm like, I'm making another battery box. So, but yeah, it takes time. My biggest thing is I want to cram as much stuff into the smallest box that I can find, because I don't want it to be huge. Like, I personally wouldn't want that big roller box that you have, but
Or one I'm eyeing.
the one you're eyeing. But given the physical size of that battery, you might have to go that big. But it's got wheels too, so you can throw other crap in it too. You can throw coax, and you throw all kinds of stuff in them. So,
well, thank you for coming on, Mike. I do appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. I can't believe the hour's already up talking about batteries. I can talk about batteries all day long.
I know. That's why I came to you. So you're starting me on this journey, and we're going to see where it takes us, man.
I'll be curious to see what you come up with. I'll expect a full report in the morning.
Oh, you'll have it like 3 months from now.
Yeah. Now, all right. So here's the $1 million question. Maybe we'll close on this. Will you have this battery box built first, or will you build the DX Commander first?
Battery box. I
can't imagine anybody has an antenna and doesn't put it together. That just blows my mind.
Well, Jason.
My brain can't fathom that. But whatever.
All right, man. Well, thank you, man. I'm going to put you in the back room for a second. Oops. Double click there. And I'm Frank. Thank y'all for watching. As I said before, thank you to all my subscribers. If you want to help support this channel, there is links to my YouTube memberships and also Patreon. Please go ahead and become a subscriber, because it really helps me out. And my stickers are on sale, and Gigaparts. If you're over at Gigaparts, enter Tank at checkout and get 5% off on select items. And if you just search Tank radio in Gigaparts, you'll get the awesome boonie hat that Dawn has and I have, and I love that black boonie hat. And then it also comes up with my channel page for them, and you will see what is available for that 5% off. And go ahead and please go ahead and subscribe to my audio podcast. That will really help me out. And I think that's about it, y'all. Thank y'all for watching, and as always, go forth and conquer. Say bye.
Bye, everybody.
I did not have the credits. There we go.
Oh my God.
A quick shout out to all my Patreons who makes the show possible. You can support me by joining Patreon in the link below. And on to Tank Radio.